I'm Hilda Martinez Gutierrez, founder, principal consultant, lead clinician with Art of Mind, and co-owner with.
I'm Carlos Martinez, president at People First Economy. But also, this is different because normally you see me behind the camera, or you don't see me at all. But in this case, it's a little different because Hilda and I are actually married to each other, and I am in the shadows supporting her whenever possible with Art of Mind's work, even though most of my day-to-day is here with People First. So Hilda, what inspired you to start your business, and how has being a mother influenced that journey?
Art of Mind was created to be of a greater influence to our West Michigan community. And we have been able to do that over the span of 2+ years, to be of a resource to support workplaces on their mental health journeys. Motherhood, I would say, has amplified that. So it has taught me how to be a more present mom. It has taught me how to practice patience. It has taught me the art of validation through coaching, which is when I'm stepping out into the work that is done, coaching leaders, working with team members to help support them. It starts at home. And so I would say, mental health and wellness for me as a mom and entrepreneur starts at home.
All right, so Hilda, how do caregiving responsibilities, be it childcare, helping support family, how does that influence the way you run your business?
Yeah, I would say as a therapist and an educator, caregiving responsibility allows me to lead with empathy and compassion and find a consistent merge on professionalism and what it means to establish a rapport, right? That both can exist at once. But also showing up at home in ways that allows me to constantly keep a focus of, I'm raising a teen girl who's a Gen Z, who is a part of a current generation that is curious, that pushes me to engage with this constant why. And so it's at work. When it comes to working with leaders and teams, I'm engaging others to question and to find solutions on the why. Why are there mental health gaps? What's occurring? How can support be present in these multifaceted spaces? How can multi-generational teams work together? And so as what I'm experiencing at home in parenthood, trying to maneuver, right, engaging with someone of a new generation, the same is happening out in our workplaces, right? It's this constant finding creative ways of engagement, finding creative ways of retention, but that stems from exploring and getting to the root of why.
There's another piece to entrepreneurship also in caregiving, which is finding that balance between being a parent and building a business.
How can we share the caregiver load and weight? So I'm not doing it alone, right? I have you, which doesn't happen all the time, right? There are many who don't have the help of a village or of support externally or having a partner at home. So that quest for us, although we haven't completely figured it all out, we're still on the journey and of the quest of, but we have a pretty solid system of what has worked for each of us over time that is successful for us at home. And so I would say establishing boundaries is very key.
Okay, so through Art of Mind, you've also had the opportunity to work with other small businesses, nonprofits in the area, and get a sense of the inner workings and some of their challenges as well.
Yeah.
You explained how you navigate some of them, but what have you witnessed? What have you experienced, if you haven't mentioned it already, in terms of challenges connected to lack of childcare or just caring in general for others, and how that connects to your work?
Visibility, accessibility, um, finding a childcare service that's affordable has been some of the biggest barriers and challenges for parents and workers as well. When it comes, I have been aware of really talented, focused individuals that through childcare barriers are not able to consistently make it to work on time, have become ill, um, have not had a strong support system in the home, that have really gotten in the way of their ability to be engaged, to show up to work, to be engaged and productive at work, and to remain there. And so even engagement and retention have become challenges for so many due to lack of accessibility, not having as affordable costs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, at People First, we actually led a small focus group just about a year ago with a group of entrepreneurs. Most of them just happen to be parents. And so one of the biggest barriers across the board that really came up out of that conversation was the challenges between being an entrepreneur and finding accessible, affordable childcare, where sometimes you have to pick between something that's going to build your business and supporting your family, and so or your loved ones, whoever it is that you're caring for. And so we really want to ensure that this is an area that continues getting support and attention, because this is part of the infrastructure we need to build a stronger economy. So the next question is, have you ever had to turn down business opportunities? Have you ever had to even slow down your growth due to challenges with childcare or that lack of support?
I would say, of course.
Mm-hmm.
You know this.
Mm-hmm.
When there are either early meetings
Mm-hmm.
or opportunities to connect, or later in the evening opportunities that come my way that might get in the way of either a school drop off or a school pickup, which, let me just say that thankfully we are in the position that we can choose that, right? It's not that I can't make those early mornings or late evenings. I choose not to, so that I don't miss out on certain key moments when it comes to being present. For example, during early drop off, right? There are moments that happen that are very special and unique, just as there are with afternoon pickup, right? Or in between work where there's sessions. All that has to do with time management, right? What would work for me as a sole provider, right? Because Art of Mind is fully virtual and I don't have a team of providers. So as a sole provider, when it comes to moving and organizing my schedule to ensure that my presence takes priority, those are the decisions that come into. So yeah, I think there have been moments where the business has slowed down. Never thus far have we had to pause or stop the business. But I think there have been moments that come and go, that fluctuate, that may have slowed Art of Mind in certain moments. But those have been have been choices, right? It wasn't a position, thankfully, that had to have forced me to stop. These are choices that as a caregiver, I'm reminded of each and every day. The decision is in my hands. What I decide to do, the when and how Art of Mind expands lies in my hands.
There's often a misconception that starting a business automatically means everyone's making a lot of money, and that's not true. And while entrepreneurship can be a pathway towards, out of poverty, out of, into maybe better socioeconomic standings, it doesn't happen automatically. It doesn't happen over. And we need better infrastructure to make sure that it's not a decision between feeding, food, clothing, shelter, and generating a dollar, because it's a very difficult time right now, and we're navigating a recession. We know that everyone does not have access to the right support structures. They may not have access to either adequate child care, elderly care, maybe some of their caregiving responsibilities are still posing major challenges. Could you share some of the ways that this could impact an individual's mental health?
Yeah, so many ways. One can be impacted by high levels of stress, anxiety. One can tend to become more isolated, feel more alone in this quest of not having enough support. Um, and so, it shows up in the way that people behave, right? It shows up in the way that people either aren't showing up for work. It shows up in the ways that individuals show up in the home. If there are high levels of stress around organizing and having access to affordable and visible childcare, that stress will take on a toll in the way that one interacts with their children at home, in a way that they interact with others, in a way that they take care of themselves. And so when we talk about mental health concerns, we're talking about lack of self-care in this process, right? Because you're trying to rally to trying to figure out care for your dependents, that you're losing a sense to take care of yourself in the process. And so health care, taking care of your own health, declines in multiple ways, right? Not maintaining proper hygiene, not eating correctly, either sleeping too much or sleeping too little. So again, just having that focus, that lack of access, lack of affordable health care absolutely has mental health challenges, not just for the individual, but for those who in which care is provided for.
So what's a message you'd want policymakers to hear from someone who's both a business owner and a caregiver like you?
I would say mental health is not a luxury. It is a necessity. It is a basic human right. Mental health is the foundation, the core in which individuals, families, and communities can thrive. When you pour into individuals, you're pouring into families, you're pouring into enhancing and building upon healthy communities. And so I would say support wellness initiatives, support policies that emphasize on flexibility and humanity, on person-centered initiatives to support individuals at work. Because when individuals are cared for, teams are cared for, right? Communities are cared for. And so I would say, allocate budgeting so that workplaces can be able to help build upon or create new initiatives and programming focused on mental and emotional well-being. If we do that, if there's more emphasis financially, if there's more backing of support by our policymakers, then we can tend to see more support and more growth, particularly in those areas.